Mummy, who is your mother? Do I in any way look like your mother? Now listen to me and listen good. If you ever as much as set your tiny legs in this house again, I will make sure you won't live to tell the story. Now get out, useless child. Hey, bestie. You know how life in Africa can be, full of drama, love, and unexpected turns. Today's story is one of those that will make you laugh, think, and maybe even tear up a little. So grab your tea, get comfortable, and let your bestie tell you a story. Don't forget to drop a comment. We'd love to hear what this story meant to you. Mr. Chitty was a quiet man. Since the day his wife, Ngozi, passed, he had carried the weight of their home on his back like a sack of cement. It wasn't easy. Waking up early, preparing Adora for school, rushing to work, then returning late to cook and clean, it drained him. Adora was only 6, too young to understand the silence that filled their small flat in Surulere. She still waited at the door every evening, hoping to see her mother. Sometimes she asked, "Daddy, when is Mummy coming back?" Mr. Chitty would just hold her close and whisper, "She's with Jesus now." Then he would turn away before she could see the tears in his eyes. One Sunday after church, a woman named Ronk joined them at the buka down the road. She was a friend of a friend, soft-spoken, with a warm smile and kind eyes. She noticed how Adora held tightly to her father's trouser and said, "You have such a beautiful daughter." Mr. Chitty nodded, unsure how to reply. Ronk didn't push. She simply helped Adora wipe Ogbono off her chin, laughing gently. Adora smiled, something she hadn't done in a while. Weeks passed. Ronk began to visit. Sometimes she brought food. Other times, she helped with cleaning. She never raised her voice. She listened when Adora spoke, and even taught her a few Yoruba songs. Mr. Chitty watched her. She was different, peaceful, caring. He prayed about it, talked to his pastor, and one Saturday evening, he knelt in front of Adora. "Would you like Auntie Ronk to live with us?" Adora blinked, then nodded slowly. "She smells like Mummy's cream," she whispered. A few months later, Mr. Chitty and Ronk had a quiet court wedding. Neighbors smiled. Church members congratulated them. And in that small Surulere flat, a new chapter began. Ronk moved in, carrying only one box and a bag of dreams. She knelt to greet Adora and said, "You're my daughter now. I'll love you like my own." Adora smiled. She didn't know her world was about to change. Not all new beginnings come with warnings. At first, everything seemed fine. Ronk kept the house tidy, cooked hot meals, and even helped Adora with homework. On weekends, she braided her hair and told her folktales. Mr. Chitty was grateful. For the first time since Ngozi's death, peace returned to their home. 3 months after the wedding, Ronk began to feel sick. She slept more, ate less, and barely smiled. A hospital test confirmed it. She was pregnant. Mr. Chitty was overjoyed. He danced around the sitting room, lifted Adora in his arms, and said, "You'll soon be a big sister." Adora clapped, unsure what that meant, but happy because her father was happy. 9 months later, Tolu was born, a chubby baby girl with bright eyes and soft skin. The day they brought her home from the hospital, neighbors came to greet them. Ronk held the baby tightly, her face glowing. Everyone said Tolu looked like her. From that day, the atmosphere in the house began to change. Ronk became quieter with Adora. Her tone lost its softness. The morning hug stopped. The weekend braiding stopped. Adora didn't understand why. She tried to play with the baby, but Ronk would say, "Don't touch her too much. Your hands are not clean." When Mr. Chitty was around, Ronk smiled and acted normal. "Adora, come and eat." But when he wasn't home, things were different. Chores increased. "Adora, wash those plates. Did you sweep under the chairs? Why is your cup on the table?" She wasn't allowed to carry Tolu. If Tolu cried near her, Ronk's eyes would flash. "Did you pinch her?" Adora began to sit alone more often. She watched her father carry Tolu, kiss her forehead, and laugh. She wondered why he didn't carry her as much anymore. One evening, she asked, "Daddy, do you still love me?" Mr. Chitty looked surprised. "Of course, Ada. Why would you ask that?" She didn't answer. She just hugged him and closed her eyes. The next day, Ronk told her to stop calling her Mummy. She said it with a smile, but it stung. "Just call me Auntie Ronk. It's better that way." A quiet line had been drawn. Adora felt it. even if she couldn't explain it. After Ronk stopped allowing Adora to call her Mummy, things changed quietly but deeply. Adora noticed it more in the small things. If there was meat in the soup, Tolu got the bigger piece. If there were 2 snacks, Tolu picked first. Ronk would smile and say, "You're the older one now. Be a good sister." At first, Adora didn't mind. But then the shouting started. If Tolu cried, Ronk would snap. "What did you do to her?" I didn't do anything," Adora would whisper. "Are you calling me a liar?" Ronk's eyes would narrow. One evening, a plate broke in the kitchen. Adora had only walked past, but Ronk dragged her by the arm. "You're becoming careless. Next time you break something, I'll break your head." Adora froze. She didn't even cry. She just cleaned the mess with shaking hands. At night, when Mr. Chitty returned, he would call her into the sitting room. "How are you, Ada? Everything okay?" She wanted to speak. Her lips parted. But then Ronk would appear from the kitchen, wiping her hands with a towel. "Ah, Daddy and daughter just time, ABI," she'd say with a laugh. And Adora would go silent. She feared what would happen if she told. Ronk had whispered once, her voice cold, "If you ever open your mouth, I will send you away. And nobody will look for you." Adora believed her. She began to hide in corners when Tolu cried. She spoke less at home. She prayed for school days to come faster. That was the only place she felt seen. Mr. Chitty didn't know what to think. He noticed his daughter no longer smiled like before. "Maybe she's just growing," he told himself. Ronk said, "She's moody these days. Teenage years are coming early, oh." One night, Adora stood outside her father's room, listening to his soft snoring. She wanted to knock, to say everything, but she turned around and went back to her mattress. Sometimes silence isn't peace. Sometimes it's fear pretending to be calm. Mr. Chitty had barely been gone 2 days. Before leaving for a business trip in Port Harcourt, he hugged Adora tightly. "Be strong for me," he whispered. "I'll be back soon." She nodded, holding on a little longer than usual. But as soon as his car disappeared from the compound, Ronk's eyes changed. The fake smile faded. That evening, when Tolu cried after fighting over a toy, Ronk didn't ask questions. She slapped Adora across the face. "Why are you always making my daughter cry?" she yelled. Adora staggered back, hand on her cheek. "I didn't touch her," she said quietly. "Liar!" Ronk shouted. "You think, because your father is not here, you can become a wild animal in this house." The next morning, Adora swept the sitting room. She was folding a wrapper when she heard Tolu scream from the kitchen. "Mummy, she insulted me." Tolu cried, rubbing her eyes. Adora froze. "That's not true. I didn't say anything." Ronk didn't wait. She stormed into the room, grabbed Adora's small bag, and began stuffing clothes inside. "Pack your things. Today you're leaving." "Leave? Go where?" Adora's voice trembled. Ronk didn't answer. She dragged the bag to the door, pulled Adora by the arm, and shoved her outside. "If you ever step foot into this house again, you'll regret it. Go and look for your dead mother." The door slammed. The lock clicked. Adora stood there barefoot, her small bag on the ground beside her. The compound was quiet. The neighbors kept their curtains closed. Nobody said a word. She sat on the pavement, hugging her knees. Evening came. Mosquitoes buzzed. Her stomach growled, but she didn't move. For the first time, Adora realized what it meant to be truly alone. No father, no home, just silence, and the gate behind her, refusing to open. Adora didn't know how long she sat outside the gate. Her eyes stayed fixed on the door, hoping it would open, hoping Ronk would call her back, hoping this was just another threat. But nothing happened. When darkness settled across the compound, she picked up her small bag and walked out to the street. She had never walked alone in Lagos before. Everywhere felt bigger. The voices of people passing sounded harsh. Cars rushed by. She hugged her bag tight and kept moving. At a nearby kiosk, she sat on a stool, watching people buy bread and noodles. The seller eyed her suspiciously. "Small girl, where are your people?" Adora shook her head. She didn't want to explain. She stood up and continued walking. That night, she found a wooden bench beside a clothes shop. She curled herself into a small ball. The bench was hard, but she was too tired to care. Her stomach growled, but she shut her eyes. Morning came with noise, hawkers shouting, buses honking. Adora rubbed her eyes and stood unsure what to do. She walked to a small canteen and asked the owner, "Auntie, do you need help? I can wash plates." The woman looked her up and down. "Where your parents?" Adora hesitated. "At home." "Then go home," the woman said sharply. "Children should not be roaming." Adora left quietly. 4 days. She repeated the same routine. She walked from stall to shop, asking for work. Some ignored her. Some chased her away. One man laughed and said, "Go home, Jer, you want lie for me." At night she slept under shades of closed shops or at bus stops. She washed her face at public taps. She ate the leftover bread she found in bins behind eateries. She learned to move quickly, stay unnoticed, and pray no one troubled her. Still, she never cursed her father. She whispered one simple prayer every night. "Daddy, please come back. Please look for me." Her clothes became dusty. Her slippers wore out. Her cheeks grew thin. Yet she kept walking, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking brought tears. One afternoon, she sat by the roadside near Yaba, staring at a pot of steaming jollof rice outside a food stall. Her stomach twisted painfully. She looked away, embarrassed by her hunger. She didn't know someone had been watching her for days. A woman behind the stall wiped her hands on a cloth and stepped forward. "Small girl," she said softly. "Come here. What is your name?" And for the first time in a long while, Adora heard a voice that wasn't angry. A voice that didn't push her away. "Small girl," the woman said again, wiping sweat from her brow. "Come. I won't beat you." Adora stood slowly. Her legs were weak, but her eyes stayed cautious. She took a step forward, then another, until she stood in front of the stall. The woman looked her over, dusty slippers, stained gown, cracked lips. "What's your name?" she asked, softer this time. "Adora," the girl whispered. Something flickered in the woman's eyes. She pulled out a small plastic chair. "Sit." Adora sat, eyes lowered. The woman scooped rice into a plate. "Eat. Don't rush it." Adora's hands trembled as she picked the spoon. She didn't speak. She just ate, slowly, carefully, as if afraid someone would change their mind. After a while, the woman asked, "Your mother, what was her name?" Adora paused. Her voice shook. "Ngozi." The woman froze. Her hand stopped moving. "Ngozi," she repeated. Adora nodded. The woman sat beside her, staring. Was she fair? Soft voice. Lived in Suralere before. Adora's eyes widened. "Yes." The woman's own eyes filled with tears. "I know her," she said. "Your mother helped me many years ago. I was a housemaid. She treated me like a sister. Fed me. Gave me money when I was sick. That woman saved me." Adora blinked, confused. The woman reached for her hand. "I'm Ifioma. People call me Mama Ifioma now. I sell food here." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mama Ifioma stood. "You can't sleep on the road again. Come with me. You'll stay with me for now." Adora looked down. "I can help you wash plates," she said quickly. "I can sweep. I don't want to be a burden." Mama Ifioma smiled. "You're not a burden. You're my second chance to return what your mother gave me." That night, for the first time in weeks, Adora slept on a mattress. It wasn't big. It wasn't soft. But it was safe. She didn't cry. She just whispered, "Thank you, God." Because somehow, in the middle of Lagos, someone had remembered her mother's kindness. And now, that kindness was saving her life. By the next morning, Adora had already swept the compound and cleaned the small kitchen corner inside Mama Ifioma's room. When Mama Ifioma woke up, she blinked in surprise. "You don't waste time, eh?" Adora smiled. "My mummy used to say, if you wake up late, your blessing go past you." They both laughed. From that day, Adora followed her to the food stall daily. At first, she only fetched water, washed plates, and cleared tables. She didn't complain. She watched closely how Mama Ifioma mixed pepper, when she added seasoning, how long she let rice sit before stirring. Within a week, she could guess what needed to be done without being told. One afternoon, the firewood under the big pot began to die. Mama Ifioma stepped away to get more wood. While she was gone, Adora tasted the soup. She paused, then added a small pinch of crayfish and a little scent leaf. By the time Mama Ifioma returned, the pot was bubbling. She frowned. You touch him. Adora nodded slowly, unsure what to expect. Mama Ifioma tasted it. Her eyebrows lifted. This thing's sweeto. What did you add? Adora listed the ingredients, voice low. Mama Ifioma said nothing. She just stared at the girl. The next day, she asked Adora to try frying the stew for beans. The result made customers ask, "Who cooked today?" Something tastes different. It happened again and again. Small changes, bold flavors. Adora had a hand that turned simple food into something special. Soon, customers started noticing her. Madam Ifioma, that your small girl, she's sabi cooko. I go come back tomorrow because of that stew. Ah, she get golden hand. Mama Ifioma began to smile quietly each time. One evening, as they packed up, she looked at Adora and said, My daughter, you're not just helping me. You carry something inside you. A real gift. Adora wiped her hands on a rag and looked down. I just want to work. Mama Ifioma nodded. You will work. But one day you go lead. And for the first time, Adora began to imagine a future that didn't look like her past. The food stall was doing well. Every week, more customers came, many asking for Adora by name. She didn't just cook, she understood flavor. She had a gift Mama Ifioma couldn't ignore. One evening, after packing up, Mama Ifioma sat beside her. You've done more than I expected, she said. It's time you sharpen that gift. Adora looked confused. How? There's a short culinary course. Just 3 months. I've saved for it. I want you to go. Ah. Mama, no. You've done too much. I can't. You can, Mama Ifioma said firmly. And you will. 3 weeks later, Adora started the course. It wasn't a fancy school, but it was enough. She learned names for things she'd already been doing from instinct. By the end, even her teachers said she had something rare. Back at the stall, her cooking became even better. Business grew. They moved from a roadside table to a small shop in Yaba. Then came a bigger surprise. One of Mama Ifioma's old friends, now based in the UK, came visiting. After tasting Adora's food, she said, This girl should be in a professional kitchen. She returned to London but stayed in touch. Months later, she called Mama Ifioma. There's an opening for kitchen assistants in a catering company here. If she's ready, I'll help with the papers. Mama Ifioma didn't hesitate. Adora, start packing. Adora cried. Mama, I don't want to leave you. You must, Mama Ifioma said. Your mother helped me once. I'm just passing it forward. Go and shine. 2 months later, they flew out together. Mama Ifioma planned to return after settling her. Time moved. Adora worked, studied, improved. She joined culinary workshops, took health courses, learned how to run a business. Her hands, once shaky from fear, now held knives with confidence. Years passed. She became a chef, then a food consultant, then a health advisor. Her name started appearing in local magazines. She didn't chase fame, she chased purpose. One morning, Mama Ifioma walked into her office, smiling. It's time, she said. Time for what? Adora asked. To go home. Adora paused. Home. So much had changed, but something in her heart knew the journey wasn't over. While Adora packed her bags in London, back home in Lagos, Mr. Chitty stood in front of Adora's old room. It was empty. He turned to Ronk. Where is Adora? Ronk gave a long sigh. Ah, it's sad, Chitty. She ran away. I tried to correct her, but she became wild. I didn't want to disturb your trip. Mr. Chitty's face dropped. You didn't call me? You let my daughter disappear. Ronk held his arm, crying fake tears. I searched everywhere. Maybe she went to stay with one of your relatives. Let's give it time. She'll return. But she never did. Chitty searched the streets. He went to police stations. Asked neighbors. Everyone shook their heads. Nobody had seen her. Weeks passed. His eyes lost their light. He spoke less, smiled rarely. Ronk tried to pretend all was well, but her mask began to slip. She snapped at him. Tolu mimicked her. Peace left the house. The business began to suffer. Ronk mismanaged funds. Spent anyhow. Mr. Chitty took a loan to stay afloat, using the house as collateral. Then one rainy afternoon, while driving through Marina, lost in thought. He didn't see the trailer coming. The crash was instant. By the time help arrived, Mr. Chitty was gone. At the burial, Ronk rolled on the floor, wailing. But behind the tears was fear. A month later, the bank arrived. The house, the shop, everything was seized. Ronk begged, cried, shouted. Nothing worked. One hot Saturday, she and Tolu were thrown out of the house with 2 small bags. Neighbors watched from behind curtains, whispering. They wandered from street to street until they found an uncompleted building near Mushin. That became their home. No electricity, no running water, just cement blocks, mosquitoes, and hunger. Then one morning, Ronk couldn't get up. Fever, weakness. Her breath was shallow. Tolu ran from house to house. Nobody helped. Finally, a man gave them money for transport to General Hospital. Inside the emergency room, Tolu begged the nurses, "Please help my mummy. We don't have money." They shook their heads. No deposit, no treatment. One nurse pulled her aside. "Try the head doctor. She's strict but fair." Tolu nodded, eyes red from crying. She waited near the door. Then it opened, and the person who walked in made her freeze. It was Adora. Tolu stared, mouth open. "Adora!" Adora stopped in her tracks. She turned slowly and saw them, Tolu standing, trembling. And behind her, on the stretcher, lay Ronk, pale, weak, unmoving. For a moment, time froze. Tolu dropped to her knees. Please help us. My mum is dying." Adora said nothing. Ronk's eyes fluttered open. She looked up and froze. Her lips trembled. A tear slid down her cheek. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Adora stepped forward slowly. Her white coat brushed past Tolu. She stood over Ronk, staring down at the woman who once threw her into the street. Memories flooded her. Empty nights, cold benches, rumbling stomach, bruised cheeks. Ronk's lips moved again. This time a whisper escaped. "I'm sorry." Tolu cried harder. "We have nothing. We sleep in an uncompleted building. Please, Adora. Don't let her die." Adora clenched her fists. She had every right to walk away, every reason to leave Ronk there. But then, a different memory came. Her mother's voice, her soft laugh, Mama Ifeoma's eyes, her hands on Adaora's shoulders saying, "You carry something inside you." Adora looked at the nurse beside her. "Admit her. Begin treatment." The nurse nodded. Adora turned back to Tolu. "She will be treated. No payment needed." Tolu's head dropped. "Thank you," she whispered, sobbing. Adora didn't cry. She didn't smile. She simply walked away, head held high. Because this wasn't revenge. It was release. Later that evening, she sat alone in her office. She thought of her father, of Mama Ifeoma, of the long road that brought her here. And she smiled. Because tables don't just turn. They rise. They shift. They teach. Ronk had planted cruelty. She reaped loss. Adora had sown grace, and she was now living in the harvest. The past didn't define her. Her heart did. And now, in the city where she was once unwanted, she had become the one others came to for help. She didn't need to fight. She just needed to grow. And she did. Wow, bestie, that one touched deep, didn't it? Life really has a funny way of teaching us lessons through people we least expect. If you felt this story like I did, drop her in the comments. And don't forget, your bestie's got more stories coming your way, so hit subscribe and stay close. Till next time, stay kind, stay real, and stay my bestie. Because you know your bestie never runs out of stories.